Hello everyone and welcome to the Urban Nature Exchange, where we will discuss the spatial planning sphere of urban nature plans. My name is Adriana Aguirre-Such and I am part of the TECNALIA team, along with Gemma Garcia and Carolina Garcia. Together with Alessandro Deserti and Beatrice Maria Belle from Politecnico di Milano, we are currently developing the spatial planning scheme as a part of Task 3.1. The session will be divided into three parts. First, we will briefly introduce the current state of the spatial planning scheme, or in other words, how to effectively integrate biodiversity and nature into spatial planning instruments. Second, we will hold the exchange session with cities, where two main questions will be discussed regarding cities' perspective on spatial planning. Finally, the Polimi team will provide a summary of the session and outline the next steps. So, regarding the introduction to the UNE, in the Urban Nature Exchange, we want to tackle the role of spatial planning in mainstreaming nature and biodiversity protection and/or enhancement that has been proved to have a key role. The goal of this UNE is to understand how spatial planning enables or creates barriers in green infrastructure and MBS deployment in your cities. Our spatial planning scheme relates to the institutional dimension in mainstreaming nature-based solutions and biodiversity, encompassing three main dimensions: organizational, procedural, and normative. The organizational dimension pertains to governance, including competences, structures, and mechanisms for inclusive participatory planning at all decision-making stages, as well as institutional capacities and resources, such as human resources, expertise, access to data, and innovative capacity. The procedural dimension refers to spatial planning instruments and their associated processes and procedures. For example, master plans, land use plans, urban development plans. It also includes the spatial planning tools for information management, foresight, decision-making, evaluation, and consensus building. The normative dimension concerns policy and legal frameworks, particularly their connection to biodiversity and conservation and enhancement. It also covers the planning framework, strategic versus regulatory, including urban planning laws, zoning ordinances, and standards. This session is intended to be informal, emphasizing knowledge sharing among cities. Cities are encouraged to exchange experiences, highlight best practices, and collaboratively identify common needs. Cities will answer two key questions, providing 3-minute presentations per question. Following each city's presentation on a question, there will be a 10-minute group discussion. Key insights and points will be registered, ideally on a shared Miro board. The first question is as it follows. Considering your institutional framework and the characteristics of your current urban and land use planning instruments, for example, urban master plans, urban development plans, and so on, what do you see as the main enabling conditions for mainstreaming nature and biodiversity effectively? For instance, reflecting on nature of the plan, for example, statutory, regulatory, strong focus on land use versus strategic, more flexible but lacking regulation on nature and biodiversity and risk of lagging implementation, agile and streamlined approval procedures, multi-level planning approach, regional level guidelines and specific rules at local level. Question 2 is related to the following background. A number of challenges have been already identified for mainstream and implementing nature and biodiversity through spatial and urban planning, among others, inefficient cross-departmental collaboration, lack of available space for MBS, and tensions with other competing land uses, market-based development, not prioritizing nature and biodiversity, etc. What tools and practices, 2 or 3 examples, are being used and have been proved to be successful for supporting this mainstreaming? This may include governance, stakeholder engagement, informational foresight decision-making, evaluation and consensus tools, planning ordinances, land use regulation and standards, among others. Once the questions are answered by all cities, Polimi team will do a summary and next steps. So there will be a brief recap of key takeaways from the discussions, and there will be outlined next steps for continued collaboration and support. And that's all. Thank you for your attention, and we look forward for the session results.